Hi guys, welcome back to Irony Completed. Today's video, I was feeling the fact that it's October and I haven't had a chance to film any Halloween tutorials yet, but I thought it would be fun if I filmed kind of a themed video considering it is the month of the spooky and I love Halloween so much. Probably too much, but let's not talk about that. I want to talk about the paranormal. Now, I believe in ghosts. I totally understand why some people don't believe in ghosts. I have had two experiences that very definitely have convinced me that ghosts are real, and I've also had several family members who have had paranormal experiences, including my mother and my grandfather. And as much as it's fun to debate the existence of the paranormal and all that kind of stuff, and I find it really super interesting, I thought what would be interesting today is if I just kind of tell you guys the paranormal experiences that I have personally had, which is only two, but I thought that would be good because it would make this video not ridiculously long. I'll start with the least serious of my paranormal experiences, I guess. The least scary of my paranormal experiences. I don't know how you want to put it. Basically, a few years ago when my dad was still living in the UK, he was part of a ghost tour group and they would do horror themed tours around Liverpool. They were called Shiverpool and they still run and they're great. I would definitely recommend going on one of their tours. They are really creative and clever and interactive and fun. It's just a really cool all-round experience. I have been on two of their tours, the Hope Street tour, which is the shortest, and the Old City Shivers, I think it's called. Might be wrong. Doesn't really make a difference to this story. I was on one and my dad was running the tour with the help of two other colleagues, and they all dressed up in Victorian costumes and stuff. And basically I was alone on the tour. I didn't go with any friends. I didn't go with my stepmom because she was babysitting my younger sister at the time. And so I just kind of decided I would go on my own with dad. Like, nothing serious had ever happened on one of these tours before in terms of like them actually seeing ghosts or anything on any of the tours. Basically, the tour ends in this basement of a hotel, and the basement of a hotel used to be a bank vault because the hotel used to be a bank. And it's crazy, it's really creepy down there. It gets flooded when the River Mersey floods and it's very dark, very creepy. They make you turn all your torches off when you get to a certain point and they take you inside a big empty bank vault. And this area is also the dressing room for the cast members slash people who are giving the tour as well. Basically, the tour was ending and we went down into this basement and into this big bank vault, and they told us a story. And if you're planning on going on the tour, I'm sorry because I'm going to ruin the story for you slightly, but I'm not going to do it as much justice as they do. The story is that the man who owned the bank back when it was a bank disappeared one evening, and every night he would go down into the vaults to count the money in his bank vault. And one day he just disappeared and he didn't show up for the work the next day. No one knew what had like happened to him. And then a few weeks, I don't know, later, they went down into the bank vault and it was locked from the outside, and they opened it and his body was in there. And he'd very clearly been murdered in some way, but they never ever caught the guy. So apparently this basement is haunted by the spirit of this man who died there and also by several other spirits. Anyway, there's like a jump scare kind of moment at the end of the tour where they make you turn your lights out so you can't see because one of the cast members is hiding in the dark, and then at the end he runs out and chases everyone out of the room. And like I said, I'm sorry if you're planning on going on the tour because it's kind of a spoiler, but it's important to the story. I was in the very far corner furthest away from the exit out of the bank vault, and as we were all leaving, I was laughing because I knew the guy who'd done the jump scare. Like, I'd met him not in costume, not in character before, so like, you know, his name was Bobby, he was my dad's friend. Like, it was just funny to me. Anyway, I was just laughing and kind of like pushing people out of the door, and I let this woman and her 10-year-old, 11-year-old daughter go in front of me. I was 17 at the time, so I thought like I'll be polite and let this obviously scared child go in front of me. And Bobby, the guy who had done the jump scare, was like right in my face, like trying to make me scared because he knew my dad and he knew that I was my dad's daughter. So he was right in my face trying to make me scared, and I already knew that Dad and the other lady who were running the tour had left the vaults before everyone else had run out so that they could lead them out of the basement. So I knew that Bobby was the only other person behind me in the bank vault, and I know this for a fact. As I was walking out of the bank vault with no one other than Bobby behind me, I felt a hand grab my ankle, and at that time I didn't think much of it. It made me jump, but I kind of just kicked my leg and then hurried out of the vaults. And then I was talking with my dad and the other tour members later on down in the same basement while they kind of took off their makeup and costumes and got ready to get the bus home with me and my dad. They were all chatting and I told them about this happening to me, and Bobby was like, well, it definitely wasn't me, like it definitely wasn't me who grabbed your ankle. And I told my dad and he was like, yeah, there was no one else in the room behind you other than Bobby. So I don't 100% want to say that this is definitely a paranormal experience, although I think the likelihood is that it is, because no one else was in that vault, and I know we all knew this for a fact that there was no one else in this vault, but something definitely grabbed my ankle. I don't think it was a malevolent thing, like I don't think someone was trying to hurt me, but it definitely gave me a fright. My camera battery is going to die before I get a chance to finish filming this video. My second story is something a lot more scary and a lot more personal, and my camera battery is dying, so I'm going to try and hurry through it so that I can get this filmed before it dies. There's a cat on the garden wall. Basically, my home has always felt like it has been haunted, and I don't mean this home here at university, I mean my house at home where I live with my mum. It's always felt to me like it has been haunted, or like there is a weird presence there. Strange things happen to us all the time. For instance, we can be sure that we turned a light off, but we'll go into the room and the light will be switched on. It will happen several times in one night. Electronic devices will play up in certain rooms. Just stuff like that, just mischievous kind of stuff. We just figured we had like a poltergeist, but like a mischievous spirit or something, like nothing serious. One night I was lying in bed and I was asleep pretty much, but I was kind of in that half awake, half asleep dream state. And I think it was maybe like between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, I can't remember exactly. I was lying on my side facing the wall, and it felt like something tapped me on the shoulder, and I thought I was like having one of those dreams where you dream yourself awake, like, you know, you dream you're falling and it feels like you actually are. I thought I was just dreaming that someone was tapping on my shoulder, so I kind of just like shrugged it off and like moved around a bit. But then it happened again, and I opened my eyes and there was a face of a woman inches away from my face lying next to me in the bed, but like I said, I was up against the wall facing the wall, and I kind of blinked in shock and panic and jumped backwards in the bed, and in that moment that I blinked and jumped, the figure had sat up and was sitting on my bed, and I blinked again and kind of pushed myself up into a seating position, and in the moment that it took me to do that, the figure was standing at the end of my bed, and it was the figure of a woman, and I thought she was wearing a maid's outfit, but I'll get more into that later in the story. She kind of like had her hair up in a cap and was wearing an apron. I scrambled to my phone and turned the torch on my phone, and there was nothing there. I yelled at my mum because I thought my mum had been playing a practical joke on me. She was definitely asleep and she was in her room on the other side of the hallway. There's no way that she could have got back there in the time that it would have taken me to find my phone, and she was definitely asleep. So I panicked, told her about what had just happened, and then got into bed and slept with her for the rest of the night. My mum later spoke to the neighbours who have lived here a lot longer than we have. They've lived in the village like their entire lives pretty much, and they've lived in that house for the past like 2 or 3 owners before us. They spoke with my mum, and my mum asked about the previous owners of the house. Now, the previous owners before us are all still alive. The owner before them, however, died not in the house, but whilst she was still living in the house, if that makes sense. Like, she was still renting the house when she died. And it turns out that the woman who owned the house 2 people before us was a nurse during World War II. So our theory is that the person that I saw in the bedroom was that woman. She was in her World War II nurse regalia, which makes sense with the apron and the hair up in a cap thing. So I thought it was a maid, but it actually turns out that it was the ghost of the nurse who used to live in our home, and we have had several experiences with this particular spirit. She's not malevolent in the slightest. In fact, she seems to want to wish as well more than anything. But yeah, those are my paranormal experiences. That's everything for this video, guys. Please let me know down in the comments if you've ever had an experience with a ghost or something paranormal, and whether or not you believe in ghosts in the first place. If you want to follow me on Twitter, Tumblr or Instagram, they'll all be linked down in the description, along with everything that I'm wearing and what's on my face right now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next spooky video. Woo!